I'm not feeling good right now. We drew 1-1 with Brentford last night away at the G-Tech Community Stadium. Brentford's a tough place to go, boys. It's a tough place to go. Let's just start with the game. We'll come to you first, CJ. What did you make of the performance?
The performance, I'm not necessarily happy. I don't think it's one where you know how it goes. Arsenal don't win or they draw and we're crashing out and everyone's rubbish and this, that, and the third. I do think, because of where we're at and what we're trying to achieve, drawing is being celebrated as defeats. Now, granted, we've all got friends, we're all in WhatsApp groups. They're all going to run that kind of banter. For me, I'm disappointed. Like, I've said to you lot off air and I've said to you lot before, yeah. For me, I'm not really interested in the points gap tally, at least until the back end of March, early April. I think we just need to put the left foot in front of the right and keep moving. That being said, we did our job last weekend. We stepped in with us having a 6-point gap. We left the weekend with that. I know there was all this talk around 9 points, etc., right? But that wasn't in our control. I think we have to assume that whether they do it or not, we just have to have the assumption that City are going to win every game. So we kind of need to do the same. We all know that's not how it pans out. Now, I don't know about you lot. Of course, any slip-up City can have, we're going to take. I did not expect that to happen against Fulham. But you have a bit of hope. Obviously, that never happened against Fulham. Our points gap was cut to 3. Now, it was cut to 3. We finished our game and it's gone up to 4 if we want to be shameless. But at the same time, it's disappointing. Don't get it twisted. I think on the reflection, a draw is a fair result. I think I'm disappointed because we took the lead and by default, we've dropped points from winning positions. There was definitely times we was living dangerously. It was a bit of a weird game for me, boys, in a sense that you see them kind of games 9 times out of 10 in the Premier League in that Brentford are a well-structured side. We've said it on this platform before. Very few teams could lose a manager in Thomas Frank at the time, in Buemo, Visa, Norgard, and their manager and just keep moving, and they're doing very well. Like us, they dead balls, crazy. And I don't want to sound like an obnoxious Arsenal fan, but considering we've played Real Madrid, we've played this one, we've played that one, obviously there's been times where these teams have had me shook. I've never been as shook in my life with that long throw. I know we've got a throwing coach now. We need to bring that in. I think we had to live dangerously. I think you'd have to be an idiot to expect us to go into that game and not have to defend for our life in stages. And we had to do that. It's disappointing because the throw that led to the goal, I think there was a free kick for Arsenal, but it weren't the best of throws from him, but the first and second balls. That's where I think our boys will be disappointed. That's why I think the gaffer will be disappointed because you have to be prepared to kind of win that. We knew it wasn't going to be easy. I don't think we did enough to win. For me, it was a bit of a weird game in that Brentford are a very well coached side. Arsenal are a very well coached side. They were kind of cancel each other out, feeling the weather a bit. It was almost like a chess match that became like a tennis rally at times. At times we was kind of doing that. At times it went for Brentford. I think in the whole, I think I've been too accustomed to seeing the first half like that, boys. I know no games are the same, but not necessarily happy at halftime. Second half, or the initial stages of the second half, lads, I think we started well. Obviously, we got the goal. I then think we reverted back to type. I don't think we created enough chances for me, if I'm completely honest. That being said, Martinelli's had an effort. Martinelli should do better. I'm disappointed, but when you remove your emotion, I don't think it's a crash out thing. I don't think we deserve to win necessarily. I do think there's been a common theme whether we've been winning, losing or drawing tactically that we need to address. But for me, we've got no choice but to go on. Like, we've drawn against a very good side, which I wanted all 3 points. Focus turns to Wigan, focus turns to Wolves. And for me, it just sets up for a great movie, in a sense that, March the 22nd and the 18th of April, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, man, disappointed. I feel sorry for Raya. I think my defenders did well, if I'm honest with you, man. I think they were let down, but yeah, that's my
But
thoughts.
CJ, is that not the problem that we didn't deserve to win? Because I agree, I make you right. I think Brentford held their own. I was lucky enough to be at Brentford's training ground. Talksport done an interview with Keith Andrews prior to the game, and you could sense there was like a bit of confidence about him. He felt that they could get a result, and I think. Is that not a problem? Like, I've got it written down here. Do we look like champions? Because for me, looking like champions is when you sort of turn up at grounds and the team's already beat. I remember when City were on their run. I think they won 4 leagues in a row. And it just felt like a foregone conclusion when they turn up and win. Liverpool last season, they would just turn up and win games. Like, are we in danger of relying on other teams, Luke? I'll come to you, Luke, here, because for me, there was that period, the Liverpool Forest United games where we get 2 points out of 9. And, Arteta's spoken a lot about if buts maybes. If we didn't beat Newcastle, that would have left us 8 points behind Liverpool, which I understand. You can't always go back and say if that happened, because then you're on a never-ending hindsight sort of cycle. But I just feel like we've had the chances to separate ourselves from City and Villa, because people are sort of forgetting about Aston Villa now. But Luke, when you watch us play, do you see champions? Because I'll be honest, at the minute, I'm not getting that feel from the team.
Well, it depends how you quantify what does champions look like. I'm pretty sure we looked like champions when we went to Ellen Road and won 4-0, and people were saying we're back to 7 points. That's how you respond. That's what champions do. In terms of last night's game, I have to be honest, I thought Brentford were better. I think the more damning statistic is 62 minutes, Brentford had 8 shots. So from that minute until the end of the game, we had 1.
Yeah, that's insane, Luke. That is insane. Yeah.
I'm writing that down.
So when you paint that picture, you can't really come out of a game and say you deserve all 3 points. Now, I hate this line, but sometimes when you have to watch a game in context of 90 minutes, if you can't win the game, you don't lose the game.
Which is true.
Right now, 4 points, we still have a buffer. And I think we've got 2 choices as Arsenal fans. You can throw the towel in if you want. That's your opinion.
Like this guy's falling in that. Or
you can
just
do
get on
it,
with it.
or you can go, right, 12 games, 11 games to go now in terms of when we play City. We're all in for it. Bring your towel, bring your dinner, and let's have it. Let's have a title race. You can't change the past. But you can't change
Luke,
the past.
Luke, you're such a... This is why I needed to talk to Luke, because the way he delivers it, it just makes you start believing again. Like, all of a sudden, I'm believing again.
But, okay, what can we do? We can't change the past, and we can't predict the future. So all we can do is focus on the present.
Yeah.
And I have an infinite amount of trust in these group of players because, and I think it goes back, not like I said to you, Rob, ages ago. This doesn't go back to 2 seasons ago or what last season. For me, when I watch, this goes back to 8, 9, 10 years ago when I used to watch an Arsenal side with such a soft underbelly, a weak naivety. Even last night, even in the toughest conditions with Brentford were throwing at us, I still felt a little bit of, yeah, we're under the pressure here, but we're not going to wilt. We're not going to wilt. And sometimes, when you have a chance like mine, Elliot, at the end, and I'm going to come on to that because I'm a little bit annoyed about Arteta, but yeah, you can take it. But you know what? Sometimes you have to just look at the context of 90 minutes and go, get out there with a point.
Remove your emotion from all of that, and a point
is a point. And we're 4 points clear, and you talked about relying on City. The great news is we don't need to rely on City because it's still in our hands. And I hate when people say, we've got to go to the Etihad. Well, yeah, because City have got to play us. City have got to play us. And I know how you're feeling right now based on the result last night, that, yeah, we don't look good. But I tell you what, we haven't lost to the Etihad in 2 years. Do you back us to go there and play for a point? Yeah, probably. And if we don't need to win the game, we won't need to win the game. And if we need to win the game, then they've got to roll their fists up, roll their sleeves up and go and want to win the game. Listen, we're not on the football pitch. You know, we can't go and win the Premier League for them. But we can back them and trust them and support them and get them over the hill. When I watched the game last night, I watched it. I was obviously disappointed. I was frustrated. But I went, do you know what? We're out of there. It's done. Could have been a lot worse. Let's have a break with the FA Cup. No disrespect to Wigan, but it's a nice break.
Yeah.
Wolves is 7 points. Whether that's an artificial lead because it's 7 points and they've got the game in hand, it's still 7 points. And then we take it from there. But look, if we win 11 games this season, between now and the end of the season, we'll be Premier League champions. It's as simple as that. Don't rely on City. Focus on yourselves, and we'll go from there. If you want to talk to me about little tactical things about the performance, yeah. I wasn't really happy with Arteta, I have to be honest. And that's a concern I've had for a few weeks.
Let's delve, man. Let's delve into that. Let's delve into that.
Yeah, because you know what? Luke makes a good point, CJ, innit? Like, we have to focus on ourselves. And that is where...
We can, though. We can. We can. Now, we actually can. It'd be different if we were 3 points behind Manchester City and we needed them to drop points. We don't at this moment in time. I understand the narrative. I was so disappointed at that Nottingham Forest game. Still am. I'll always look back at that game specifically and go, if you want to be champions, you need to seize the initiative. I get that, but we can't change it now. We were 4 points when we lost to Man United. We're now 2.5 weeks down the line from that game. It's now 4 points. If anything, City should be a little bit more frustrated that it's still 4 points, even though we've been on a poor run of form, right? Because they're still chipping away, and there's still a 4 point buffer. So they still need for us to drop points. And if they drop points and we capitalise, then it might, it could have a not a mental effect, but it might go, oh, not again.
There's many twists and turns to come, man. From
I
both
think
teams,
so,
man.
and that's the way it is. I think we've all thought we could have run away with it in January based on the opportunities we've got. I don't think that's going to be the case now. It's going to be a title race between now and the end of the season. We could have a potential Champions League game against them as well. We've got the cup final to look forward to. Strap yourselves in, get ready, and embrace it. And we'll have a conversation in May. And what happens in May, then we'll talk about that. Whether the manager needs to go, whether what happens to the players, whether they can go again after 4 years of finishing second. All those conversations are on hold now because we don't know. Let's move on. Problem I've got with the attack, right, is I still can't understand and fathom why our fullbacks are in the most attacking area of the pitch. Everyone is talking to me about this Martinelli chance, but why on earth is Jurriën Timber there for first and foremost?
Like Saka was on the pitch at this point as well. Saka was. I was wondering where he was.
Saka made the flick on into Gyökeres, but I can't work it out. Second of all, in the first half, I felt really sorry for Eberechi Eze. Why is Eze making a pass 5 yards through the lines for Timber on the half turn? It doesn't add up. The platform of the attack, even Victor Gyökeres, who I thought was actually decent in the first half with his hold-up play, I thought he was some of the best I've seen from him. There was no one around him. Generally, no one around him with three centre-backs. What is he really meant to do?
But this is what I mean by, don't you think, obviously we know it was against Brentford, and I know clearly we're not crash outs here, innit? We're not doing the most, but don't you lot feel, whether we've won, lost or drawn from August to now, obviously there's been some moments where it's been irrelevant, but we're kind of talking about the same things tactically, and that's kind of been my thing with the gaffer. It's not a crash out thing, because you've got us in this position, but I always, like I said to you in August, Roms, I give them a free hit from now until the 10-game mark, because that's when I feel the seeds of pre-season start to sprout. That's when I think players are fully fit. Don't get twisted, you need to get a run of games. Now, if we go to the 10-game mark, cool. 10-game mark, get me to December, innit? You've done that. December, get me out of there. Get me out of that cluster of fixtures. You've done that. But I do think the players individually, I need a bit more now. I've been vocal on that. The same issues with Martinelli, with Mikel Arteta, apologies. We've been saying that. For me as well, and kind of piggybacking off of what Luke said, obviously, everyone's going to think about the Declan Rice shot, a chance. Maybe could have went for the shot. Obviously, it was a great bit of defending from the man who had a good game against us with his throwing and whatnot. Everyone's going to think about Martinelli's effort, and obviously Madueke did score. But I don't feel we're creating enough. Cool, we've done enough. The data sheet might say that, but maybe I'm looking at it too simply. But football's a 90-minute game. It's a game of probabilities. You create more clear-cut chances, you're more likely to score. And for a team with our attacking quality, I'm too able, game in, game out, on occasion, to remember the handful of opportunities. And going back to what Luke said, we know we can't win them all, and we know we want to, break away from City and things, but it's the draws, man. Obviously, we're not going to have 14 draws, but I just feel the draws have been very frustrating, and it just shows you the small and fine margins in football, man. I mean, I felt sorry for Gyökeres. I know social media. Do you know what it is? You can always tell when people have actually watched a game of football and they're just doing the social media thing. Because if you're just digging out Gyökeres, you didn't watch the game. As Luke said, the man's on an island. He's working the channels for no reason. There's no one around him, which is why I said the defence, Raya, Chris Mosquera had a great game. The defence, including Raya and Gyökeres, I kind of feel sorry for you. I needed a bit more. I think Rice was good. You lot know I love Zubamendi. I needed more. An element of me felt sorry for Eze. I do feel sorry for Eze because it doesn't feel like we're platforming these players. But I did think there's opportunities to assert yourself, to let your nuts hang, quote unquote. And I think I kind of saw that from Trossard. I need a bit more from Eze. But when you add in all of these ingredients, it's just a cocktail of mixed emotions.
DG,
really.
do you know what it is?
Think about the 2 points.
Luke, sorry. Do you know it is on Gyökeres? And I've been a big fan of him. DG, we spoke before he even signed. I really wanted him at the club, and partly why is because I thought he could do a lot of what we didn't have. But for me, what worries me with Arteta, and DG, once again, you mentioned it earlier, is we're talking about the same tactical issues that we've been talking about all season, and arguably last season and the season before that, is where it feels like our attack isn't the priority. Yesterday, Gyökeres had no shots. He didn't have a single shot yesterday. Thiago had 6 for Brentford. And it's not always as simple as comparing striker for striker, game for game. But I had a look, and Gyökeres this season averages 1.5 shots a game. Thiago averages 2.3. So there's a direct sort of comparison where Brentford are platforming their striker Thiago, who I believe he's second or third top goal scorer in the league this season. Exactly. So they're getting him in positions to score. And I feel like with Victor Gyökeres, yesterday he had a good game for an Arsenal striker because he's running the channels, he's bringing the team into play. But like you said, there's no one around him. And I was really disappointed. We'll talk about the injuries in a moment. But that's why I was so disappointed Havertz got injured, because I felt like we were starting to see a player who actually understands Gyökeres and understands what this guy wants. Because Havertz, he's a bit of a unicorn where he's got the physical makeup of a target 9, but everything else about him is of a classic number 10, where he pops up in positions that you don't expect. And I think that's what Gyökeres was beginning to thrive off. So I don't know, boys. Like it leads to the question: is the issue the manager or the players? Do the players need to take more responsibility? Because you mentioned Zubimendi there, DG, who I thought stepped up against Sunderland, obviously opened the scoring straight after getting taken out, which I thought showed a little bit of bite, a little bit of nastiness, where he's like, you know what, they just write me out, I'm going to just go and show them what I'm about. But sometimes I wonder, do the players need to do that more, go and take responsibility? Or is it the gaffer? Is it the way they're being set up tactically? I don't know what the answer is.
I think it's a combination of both, because I think I understand the Zubimendi thing. However, sometimes football is so fine margins and fine details. Zubimendi didn't do a lot, but if you look at the first 15 minutes of that second half, and this is why I felt sorry for Eze. I didn't think we needed a personnel change. I think we just needed to change how we structured the midfield and played 5 yards higher up the pitch and go for him. And if you watched Zubi drop deep into the 6 and Rice pushed into the 8, and Rice was allowed to drive more, and Zubimendi gave him the protection. So Zubi, without doing a lot, you need that insurance policy on the pitch. And that's why it's difficult to take Zubimendi off. However, after the equaliser, the game became, like you said, the CJ it wasn't on the floor. It was just quite one-dimensional, ball over the top on their counter-attack. We went back.
You knew what time it was against Brentford. That's going to be something.
Yeah, and that's fine. But that doesn't really suit Zubimendi. You're kind of bypassing the field. Or Odegaard. And that's where you miss a Havertz. And then it's frustrating. But I look at Arteta and you know, and I'm talking about context of the 90 minutes. And when I watch games and I can see how a game is going, why would you take Madueke off? You're looking at the way that game is going, with a counter-attacking threat from both sides. You need pace. And I'm thinking, he's just scored. Give it 10 minutes. You're most vulnerable when you've just scored, the famous old saying. I didn't like the fact he took him off. Because he
doesn't want to change the structure, Lee.
But I didn't think there was any need to.
But like you said, altering is changing the structure. He didn't want to do that. That's why I'm mad as well. He didn't want to. That's why the Saka for Noni is the easiest one.
But I don't think he needed to do it. I think he just sort of waited. And I love Trossard, but when a game gets like that, Trossard is for a low block. But when you need the counter-attack, you got space, you need pace. I would have moved Noni over to the left.
Yeah.
I would have kept him on. Because I'm watching the context of the 90 minutes. And I didn't want us to sit back on our laurels and get penned in, like we were going to eventually. Because Saka's more technical, he's got the brain, he will slow it down, he's got the combination with Odegaard. Yeah, fine. We've seen that for seasons. But I'm watching that game thinking, how can we make it 2-0? Not how can we sit back on 1-0, how can we make it 2-0? And I just still don't understand why he went, I'm going to take Noni Madueke off. And that's not because of the goal, it's because of the outlet he was given, the fact that he always goes one-on-one, he likes to go on the outside.
Just because of what the skill set he has. He's a tool
and it's different.
For the job,
and it's different.
But Luke, this is why I say, is it the players or the manager? Because, and it's not a blame game. Like you said, CJ, we're not here to point fingers and say they're terrible, get them out. It's not that. Like, Mikel Arteta's gotten us to where he's got to. But is he going to get us over the line? It's the question I always ask Luke when I see him in the office and he bowls in and he's calm and collected. I'm there stressing and Neil and Quaker are laughing at me. I'm always asking, like, we're good. We're very good. But are we going to get over the line? And when you talk about leaving Madueke on, Luke, instead of bringing Saka on, they're the decisions that, to be honest, look, I don't think leaving Madueke on guarantees we win the game, so it's not as simplistic as...
I'm not saying it does either.
Yeah. But do you trust Arteta to make the right decisions in the remaining 3 months? Because like you boys have been saying, it's not just the Premier League we're competing. We're competing on 3 other fronts. We've got a cup final. I believe we get past Wigan, and we've got the Champions League to come. Do you boys trust, especially with the injuries? Look, Marino's out until the end of the season. Havertz has picked up a knock that should keep him out for a month. Saliba didn't play yesterday. Odegaard apparently wasn't very fit yesterday. Where's Ben White? He seems to not want to start. Yeah, but DG, do you trust Arteta to make the right decisions in the final 3 months?
It's an element of an unknown, man. I wouldn't say blindly trust. I don't blindly trust anyone, much less footballers or managers who, as much as I love my club, I don't know them. What I would say is, I've said this to you guys before last week, if we want to get into a situation that we've never been, then we have to become something we've never been. So that means, as much as it's about the players, the manager has to go to war with himself, innit? Like, granted, he makes all the changes or does all the things us as armchair experts think. He does that, we go and lose the game. We're crying about something else. But as Luke said, isolated to the 90 games, when you're feeling the temperature of the game, sometimes I think, and it's not the right example, but sometimes I think you've got to gamble. Sometimes I think you've got to do that. And I just think he wants to keep... There are times he's done it, and I don't know if I can rate it, but I rate it because I remember City at the Emirates where, you know, we were chasing the game. Bro, he put the handbrake down, we was on them. In the whole totality, I thought Newcastle was the blueprint. I remember that kind of period of games where I think the balance was there, where he's overthinking in the right spots. He's not thinking, he's keeping things basic in others. The players are doing what needs to be done. So 100%, man. It's a weird one because he's got to overthink, but then also you've got to not overthink, if I'm completely honest. Like, we have to avoid crashing out. Like, obviously, the points gap, everyone's thinking the City Sharks are circling, Arsenal are going to do what they're going to do. As Luke said, granted, that could happen in May. Right now, we're in a war. We just need to keep going. And for me, I also think the players have got to take responsibility. I know that's what people say, but you lot were mentioning Zubamendi and all those things. No games are alike, but Sunderland, they're a very well-coached side. People are shooting from outside the area. If we go as far back as Kairat, where it's not really a talking point, but we were shooting heavy from outside the area. In the weeks that followed, we was doing that against Sunderland. I saw none of that last night. Now, granted, Brentford are very well structured off the ball. I'm not suggesting go gun-ho and start shooting from here, there, and everywhere. But there's got to be an element. And to a degree, I think with Arteta, you've kind of made your bed and now lie in it. Now, I miss Kai Havertz and Marino. I said this to you last week. Obviously, the players that are not involved, they're going to be the messiahs that would have made it. But he gives us something in those games. He runs in behind. He kind of gambles. For me, Arteta's got to find a way of gambling, finding that freedom within a framework, finding a way to snatch these kind of games. Because I don't want to do the coulda, woulda, shoulda. I have a feeling of that when we lost it at the dying embers against Aston Villa. I definitely think that about, at least the game at Anfield, and there's plenty of others. So he's got to find a way, man. And I don't think he deviates away. I think he's made his bed in the sense that ultimately some of these players are good, but like Noni, for example, I know he scored, but he was incredibly frustrating. Like Luke said, for me, he's a tool in it, especially when it's kind of opening up. Games like that, I just don't think he's kind of got the juice. You've got a service-reliant striker with Gyökeres, and you made the great statistic about he's shooting less than Thiago. Find a way to get him to do that. And it felt like the Gyökeres... It felt like a throwback to the initial period of Gyökeres where he's working hard, he's doing all of that, but ultimately he's not in goal-scoring positions. So, again, and I think Luke and you have summed it up well, if you're not platforming Eze in the right way, and don't get it twisted, the players have to do what they need to do. If Eze's not being platformed, you've got a service-reliant striker that's got no one around him. You've got fullbacks bombing on. We're not really saying anything about our wide men who were putting themselves around and have frustrations around. You're literally making it difficult. As much as football is a difficult game, it's also a simple one. You've got to go from one end to the other. And one thing that was annoying me is we're going long too much, in my opinion. I know there's elements of going long. You have to get out of there. You have to keep them thinking. But Gyökeres can't win them all. When he's winning them, no one's around him. You're knocking it long to Saka, who doesn't look fit. Now, granted, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I was saying, Noni, go to the left, bring on Saka. He didn't look fit. Now, as I said, I'm an armchair expert in it. Arteta's obviously seen him in training. He was back ahead of schedule. But for me, it didn't look like the gamble to take. So when I see performances like that, or just in general, the good, bad, and the ugly of the manager, I think you've made your bed, you've got to lie in it. But what's left of the season, all we can do is move on. Definitely learn what you need to learn about from the Brentford game. Because I remember in the build-up to it, the gaffer was talking about, like, if you want to win there, you have to be prepared to suffer. I think the team were prepared to suffer. Raya got us out of jail a lot. But that John Sequoia, that Eze just dancing past players, that Odegaard, who didn't look really fully fit and didn't cover himself with any glory, and he probably had 3 chances to put some good passes in and make the difference. The players have got to do it, man, and they've done it before. Like, no doubt, without looking at it, when we came into this Brentford game, it's all a must-win. It's doom and gloom if we don't win. We win, we're champions. We've heard that several times this season. We're doing good, but we need to now start doing great. And we are making a difficult task somewhat harder, and it makes it a lot more nervy in what's left of the season. But This is just gonna make it's a movie, innit? Like it's never gonna be straightforward. It's never gonna be straightforward. We just have to keep going, man. We've got a good chance. Don't throw in the towel yet, man.
But that is frustrating about the attack because
Bare frustrating, bro.
it goes against what he was saying. If you go back to 3 weeks ago when he discussed Odegaard in his pre-match press conference and about it wasn't him that was the reason for him to drop in behind or drop deep to pick up the ball. So you listen to that, and then he drops him against Leeds. You're thinking, oh, right, so Odegaard just does it by nature, even though we all thought it was part of this new deep line block where he can play deep. So then you take an Eze off, who likes to be closer to the attack, closer to Gyökeres, and then you take him off, and then you come out, you say you need a different profile, but that profile likes to pick up the ball between the centre-halves. So then I'm thinking, well, how's that going to benefit Gyökeres?
So you literally removed one player that's next to Gyökeres, but not really next to him, and made it even harder.
Yeah, and then Trossard was coming in more centrally, which was good because Nkapia was let to come on the left-hand side. But even then, when Nkapia is coming on the left-hand side, he's slowing it down because he has to wait for Trossard to make the move down to the left so Rice can come in field, and then Gyökeres doesn't really want to go into the ball because then there's no one around him. So that's why...
We can get men into the box enough as well, so it's sad, man.
Well, no, we don't. Like, as you said, like Madueke in the first half, Trossard in the first half, they're looking around, and like Madueke's got some decent deliveries in there, but like it's going to take a picture of a ball in and Gyökeres to head it between three centre halves. It's difficult, and like I said, I agree. Shoot more, shoot on sight, but we will never do that. Listen, the first half never surprises me. You know what Arteta is going to be like away from home. He's very conservative. When it was 0-0, a couple of my mates were messaging me and going, "Hope that's not a waste of the first half." And I was like, well, "What kind of did you expect?" He knows what it's like. You keep it controlled.
Where have you been all season?
No. It's been like that, but that's a control aspect and element, and that's you can't be surprised by that. Think about it from Arteta as the brain of Arteta, right? He'll look at it and go, well, this way, my way, has got us to this position.
Yeah.
Why on earth would I'm going to go gun ho in the first 15 minutes of the first half?
Yeah, and also we can't belittle Brentford. Not that anyone's doing it, but you can't belittle Brentford. They're in form. They've got great attackers. They're at home.
And they've only lost twice at home, right?
Yeah, and lost twice at home. So I'm not necessarily against that. It's just defense. You knocked it down. Midfield, I'm like, ooh. Attack, sometimes they can get you out, and that's where that was a great question, Roms, because we could be, me and Luke, like clearly we've gone a bit heavy on Arteta. We could be saying those same things, but Eze's picked up the ball, danced past the whole team. Saka or Noni have cracked it in from X amount of yards. Gyökeres has taken, advantage of a half-hearted chance or whatever. That's why it's a twofold. The players have to smell the temperature and probably take responsibility, which I'm not accusing them not to. And the gaffer, sometimes, a lot of what you're doing is working in it. But sometimes it feels like we're doing the same things, hoping for different results. And I do think we're in that scenario where, for me as an Arsenal fan, definitely at the Emirates era and Highbury, we can remember the 2-3 chances. Now, I'm not here to criticise the players beyond the obvious. You should have bagged, but I shouldn't be remembering. Last time I checked, football's a numbers game. You create 10 chances, 10 clear-cut chances. You're more likely to score 1 than 2 or 3. That's what I mean by we need to take the kind of stat checking and everything we're doing and get a feel and a temperature of the game. And I don't want anybody listening to assume that we're saying go gun ho, because we're not saying that, because there's a reality they get a second and we're gone. But I feel like we're saying the same things a lot.
This is my concern, Luke. Exactly. This is my concern. Is that, like we were saying, the risk-averse approach has gotten us to where we've got to. But I honestly think, and it sounds kind of obvious, and it is obvious to be honest, but it's going to be the making and breaking of us. Because yesterday, like I'm watching the game. And similar to what Luke was saying, 10 years ago, I'm watching that game.